Because I think, here's the thing. I think if you're closing 24, 20 deals a year, I mean, you can jump to 36 very, very quickly.
Welcome to the Rare Agent Show. I'm Dylan Tanaka, a realtor, mentor, and author. This podcast is dedicated to helping real estate agents like you close more deals so that you can live the life you always dreamed of. Every week, my guests and I share the stories, strategies, and tools you need to inspire and empower you. Let's make it happen. Hey guys, we're back with another episode here with my good buddy, Chris Griffin. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm great, Dylan. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. This is the first time that I've ever been in an actual studio where the lights are super, super bright. I don't even know where I'm at. It's so great.
Man, this has been a long time coming. So Chris and I have been friends for a while. We'll dive into that and we'll kind of peel back all the different layers of our relationship. But most importantly, this show is all about helping agents take their business to the next level. So I've got what I would call an epic agent here with us today. So we're going to ask Chris a bunch of questions. And I want to start, Chris, because you're super successful, right? Let's get some context. Where are you at in your business right now?
So right now, I just hired our second assistant. So we have two. I have one full-time assistant, one part-time, and I'm looking to get a agent now at this point in my business. So up to this point, I was doing all the business myself. We should close probably right around 14 million this year, and that's all me. I don't have any agents, any showing partners. That was just me. So that's where we're at right now, and it's pretty freaking exciting, man.
Yeah, so I kind of call that hand-to-hand combat. So you're saying you're in Metro Detroit. So right. for the listeners and viewers out there, right. 13, 15, 20 million is a lot of deals, a lot of closings for realtors. Typically realtors, full-time realtors in this country make around $40,000. I know it's always a shock to people who are successful like you, I'm sure. But what do you think has set you aside or, made you different than the rest of the people that you do business with?
So I started from the bottom. So anybody that knows Detroit, Detroit was a lot of abandoned homes, right? A lot of, neglect going on in the past, right? So when I was in college, I was bored and I'm like, we should do something different, right? So we start driving around Detroit, and this was 10 years ago. So Detroit.
And Chris, this is Detroit proper. This is the city. This isn't the suburbs.
This is the city. Yes, this is the city. 10 years ago, it was not what it was today. So we were just knocking on doors for people that we thought might want to sell their house. And we ended up buying a property for just over $6,000, me and a fraternity brother of mine in college. And I learned everything the hard way. I like to say I learned the product, right? Because a home is a product, right? So that's how I started. That was a great time. Really enjoyed it. Didn't have a clue what we were doing, but we did get it done. Turned out great. And then from there, I was a dialer. So for those of you, that's literally somebody, they're called an ISA in real estate. They just make cold calls all day and set appointments for other agents.
So how old were you, though, when you started as an ISA, as an inside sales associate?
ISA, I was 24.
Okay, so you were a couple of years out of college.
Well, I graduated late because I was doing nutrition. That was my plan.
Okay.
And then they're like,
so fresh out of college, though, you were in real estate as an agent. Because you were a licensed agent at the time, right? I was a licensed agent,
yes. I wasn't acting as a full realtor, but yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. So take us on that journey. Talk a little bit about what it's like to be an ISA and work for a successful team.
Sure. So it's a lot of fun. I don't think when I joined and got that job, I didn't even know what I was getting paid. I didn't know what the hours looked like. I just wanted to be in the industry, right? And I think you have to have that kind of drive. I think that has to be there. But it was a great learning experience, right? Because when you get on the phone with people, everybody's got a different personality. They all say the same stuff, though. Everyone's got the same objections.
Sure.
They don't really move around.
So you were dialing for dollars, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what ISAs do.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I would dial, I would get them in front of an agent, and if they closed, I got a portion of the commission. That's how the whole job worked. And I did that for just over 2 years, actually.
Okay. So your first 2 years in the business, you learned how to actually talk to people, and you're talking to people who really didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I thought I started calling people. I'm like, they all want to talk. They're all going to be so nice. And it wasn't really how it went, but it was a good icebreaker for me into the industry for sure. So yeah.
So moving on from an ISA to, I guess, making that leap to being your own your own boss as an agent.
Right.
So talk about that transition for those of us who are thinking about making that leap.
Sure. So, I mean, it was a couple steps, right? So when I moved into an agent role, I was still on a team at that time, and I lost sleep. I could not sleep. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have a salary. I don't have a paycheck anymore. So it was a little bit of a different switch for me, but I dove in and I had no money in the bank at all. I was completely broke. I had a $300 monthly rent I could barely pay. And that's how I started. So I was an agent, buyers only. That's how I started. And then I added on listings, and then I went on my own after that. But that took about 2.5 years.
So that was after 2.5 years as an ISA. Then you took the leap into being an agent on your own.
So it was 2 years as an ISA,
Okay.
2.5 as an agent on the team.
Okay. There you go. So yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. So man, let's go back into that. So when you went from just being an ISA, and I know that you were an extremely, extremely successful ISA, probably one of the best that I've ever heard of or met in person and been lucky enough to spend some time with. So then when you merge into the team thing, how does that work? I know it's different for every team, but what's the difference in like pay scale, or now you have to go and hunt your own clients, or
Sure.
how does that work?
So the teams, typically what they do, a lot of them have you on a split, right? So you're splitting your commission. I think that's the biggest issue though. You know, a lot of agents don't want to split their commission. They're like, oh, I want all the money.
That's on top of that regular split that they have with their broker.
That's correct.
They're also giving the team a part of the commission. Okay.
Yeah. So you have your broker cap is what they call it, right?
Sure.
And then you have your split. But, you know, I look at it like this. Yes, you're not making as much money, but you got to learn this stuff. You know, you're taking people into these properties. You got to know what you're talking about. I mean, I think that's a really good point. You know, if I'm a seller, would I want to hire Bob that got his license last week and pay him 3%? I don't know. You know, I think I would much rather have somebody that either has the support and they're new and I want to support them, or someone that's experienced. That's how I would look at it.
So you feel like you did not make a mistake starting out as an ISA because you actually got some at-bats in, is what we want to call them, right? Because everybody thinks you get a real estate license, all of a sudden you start making all this commission. Sure. Well, the reality is if you don't have any customers, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could own a pizzeria and you could have the best pizza in all of Detroit. Right. But if nobody's knocking on the door or calling the phone, then guess what? You're not going to sell any pizzas. Right. So how do you look at agents differently that you know, and you and I know hundreds of agents, maybe thousands, who came up through the ranks of an ISA and then maybe an agent on a team to becoming their own person, their own agent, versus the ones who just said like, I'm getting my license and doing this thing?
Sure. You know what? It gives you structure, right? Because you have to follow structure. So when you're on a team, they're going to make sure you're making a certain number of calls. They're going to make sure you're doing the open houses. They're going to be on top of you to do these things. How
important is that structure to not just to you or to myself, but to any agent starting out, any age, any...
Right. This is the phrase I like. So you get into real estate for freedom. You got to take all the freedom out of it and just structure out your entire life. That's how you be successful in real estate. The freedom thing, I'm going to come in whenever I want, you know, wear whatever I want, whatever. It's just, it doesn't work, right? Because people like a professional. That's what they want.
Sure.
You know, so if you are like, these are my hours, this is when I start, this is when I end, and you're dressed for success every day, I think that's where it's at, and that's how you're going to be successful in this business. So structure is so key.
That's awesome. So Chris is always dressed for success. We get together probably only once a quarter, but we see each other on social. He's always dressed much nicer than I am. I'm the host, so I get to wear my plain T-shirt and plain hat, right? But you know, let's go back into how to help agents become more successful. So. The one thing that I know about you, and I don't know if you would call it the perfect day, but run us through, and take as much time as you want, but run us through what you would call the perfect day, and even like your private, not too private, but personal stuff, like what time you wake up, what you're doing, how your dials start, and like what does that perfect day look like? So if an agent is out there saying, how come I'm not making any money? This is how Chris made money and still makes money.
So I have a start time every day. My start time is 9:30, right? That's for work though. So what I do with my schedule, if I have to move something, I can move it, but I can't take it off, right?
Awesome.
So for example, like I like to go to the gym in the morning. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Full disclosure. So I'll go at night, right? But if I go in the morning,
no.
I
But
like
let's
to
do
go
your
around
perfect
7.
day. Everything is working out the way it's supposed to. So what time are you waking up? What time are you going to the gym? Start from that.
Sure. Perfect day. I'm up at 6. I get to the gym.
Do you need an alarm?
I do need one alarm.
Okay.
One alarm. I'm up at 6. I am not a morning person, but I make myself a morning person. So I get up at 6. I'm in the gym by 7. That's how my day starts. I'm usually out of the gym by about 8:30. I get to the office by 9:30. At 9:30, I have a meeting with my staff that's about 15 minutes long. It's really tight. It's really short. I hate meetings. I think they're the biggest waste of time. That's my opinion.
So previous to the staff, though, when you were just an ISA, was it a little different your start time, or did you take a lot of this from the team you grew
I
from?
took a lot of it from the team. I took a lot of it from the team. I mean, different times and stuff, but I did take some of that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to get a feel for that because I know some people, they talk about starting calls at 8, at 9, whatever, but as a retail real estate agent, typically you don't want to call people at 7 a.m. unless they've told you to. You don't want to cold call at 7 a.m. and irritate people because we're already kind of jumping into their day as it is. But So continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So what I do from there after my meeting at 9:45, I usually take 15 minutes. I grab coffee, whatever. I jump on the phones by 10. I know it's a little later than a lot of realtors like to say. You'll see start at 8, stuff like that. I start at 10, but I don't really do a ton of cold calls. I do warm calls. I make very strategic calls. So I make about 20 phone calls a day, but they're super, super strategic. So they're going to be themed out throughout the week. I really focus on my business partners. So I work with a couple builders that I focus really heavily on, different contractors and different company owners. And by the way, a lot of these companies might have nothing to do with real estate at all. Absolutely nothing. But it's somebody I can refer.
So they're referral partners.
Referral partners.
So you're referring. So if I own a landscaping company, you're going to send your clients or friends or anyone you know to Dylan, the grass cutter. I'd be good at that, everybody.
Right.
And in turn, I'm going to say, well, that's funny, Chris, because I'm in front of homes all day long.
Sure.
So I can let people know that you're the best real estate agent I know.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Like our handyman, he's probably gotten 10 jobs a year, like signed, closed jobs.
That's
just
awesome.
from us, and they're larger jobs. But I mean, that's how we structure it. So I start with that with my phone calls after the meeting. So I usually wrap that up by about 11:30, 12. And then from there, my day takes over. So my day usually has showing blocks set aside, and it varies by day. And my assistant schedules all my showings. So I don't schedule the showings anymore. It makes it easier. It makes it a little bit more strategic. And then I have coffee meetings too. So I try to have meetings with my referral partners, new referral partners, current clients. I never bring them to the office. I don't like that model. I take them to Starbucks because who doesn't like Starbucks? I mean, come on.
Right. So we left that out. Something very important for most real estate professionals, entrepreneurs is coffee. So I know Chris is a coffee guy. I'm a coffee guy, but it's not about me, guys. It's about Chris. So what is your perfect cup of coffee at Starbucks?
Oh,
what's your drink?
Gosh. So venti iced coffee with oat milk because it's healthier, right? We cut out the sweetener, no classic syrup, and then you do light ice because you get a little bit more.
There you go. So what about in the middle of winter? You're still doing iced coffee?
It's the same drink.
There you go.
It's the same
All
drink.
right.
You know, it's so funny. I went to Starbucks. This is about a year ago. I go there, and they had my coffee already there. They just said, we just thought you were coming in today. Pissed off all the mobile orders.
Oh, man.
All these people just jump right in front. But yeah, that's what I go to. Yeah.
All right, so you move on to showings or maybe something else that slides in that showing slot.
Sure.
And then you want to have coffee meetings after that. What time does that take you to typically?
Usually that takes me right up to about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Typically. And then a couple days a week, I go later than that. So I'll have showings or listing appointments till maybe 7. I used to do it every day. I was working till 8, 9 o'clock, right? So I've scaled that back a little bit. I just try to be a lot more efficient with my time.
Yeah, and that's easier to do once you kind of have a runway of cash, and you've been successful, Chris. And I mean, that's a big reason why I like you, because you're a real business person. Even though we're in real estate, we're actually business people sometimes, some of us. So let's take the perfect day, and let's say that I always like to say like Chris Jr., right? So Chris Jr. is coming into the business.
Sure.
He's 22 years old. He has no money. but he's excited. Or it could be Christine Jr., right? It could be a lady too.
Sure.
So they're super excited and they're looking to you as their mentor, as their guide, as their boss.
Right.
And you want to make them even more successful than you've been, which Chris is like a top probably 0.5% or maybe top 1/4% realtor in the whole nation. So what do you tell them to do for their daily time blocks, I guess is what you would call them, right?
Sure.
So why don't you give a newer realtor, somebody who just wants to take their business to the next level, what should they be doing every single day?
Sure. So for someone that's brand new that has no clients at all, what I would do is I would have your call block in the morning. Now, I know what I just mentioned, you got to call people that you know, right? But some of us don't even think we should call our uncle. We should call everybody, right? But that will run out over a period of time, right? So what you do when you run out, I would be in an open house every single day because most agents will not want to hold their own listings open. I don't know why, but it's a thing. So I would be holding open other agents' listings because you don't have any yet.
And what's your goal for those new people?
You want to pick up buyers and sellers from these open houses. So my whole business was built not just on referrals, right? So we're 84% referral last year. The other 16% was from open houses. So when we get slow, I will jump into an open house. I have people ask me all the time, why are you doing open houses? Because it's a huge segment of the business. You know, you can get listings, buyers, you can get renters who become...
You basically have raw possible clients walking in the door and the old dogs. I mean, Chris is talking about himself first, right? So he's not doing open houses as often as he used to. He's not doing call blocks as often as he used to. But if we picked him up here, and this is even a better question, Chris, if I picked you up here and threw you in the middle of Nashville and your brother doesn't live there anymore, so you have zero connections, right?
Yeah.
Then how do you get started?
I would be open houses every day of the week. I would literally, because I will tell you, we've done some on Tuesdays.
Sure.
Works incredibly well.
Yeah.
We do like a twilight one. I think there's a lot of like preconceived limitations to what you can do.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
yes.
I can only do an open house on a Saturday or a Sunday. Or I have to, all the businesses on the weekends. I don't think that's real at all. I think you can get a lot done during the week.
Yeah.
And once you get your first listing, you can just work from the house.
Right. And me coming from the investor world originally, I would buy and sell a lot of properties, and I still do, but my primary business is right here in retail now, right? And working with other agents. Right. So when I had a property that I wanted to quick sell or to flip to other investors, I would have an investor open house and I would do it on a weeknight all the time. And people thought I was crazy, but guess what? The guys and gals who showed up, guess what they were?
Motivated.
The serious ones who I could negotiate with and build something with. So for you agents out there, I don't care if you're new or you've been in the business 20 years, Chris just gave you some golden nuggets there. Like, why aren't you doing open houses? So when I do open houses, I do content just like this at open houses. One of my good friends and a partner, his name is Zaid Kassab. He'll be on the show soon. We did an open house at a new remodel that he had listed in Ferndale, which is in Michigan. It's a very hot area.
Cool house.
Yeah, Chris saw the house.
Yep.
So I brought one of my cameras. We did stuff on site. We had our lav mics. We did a 30-minute podcast while we were waiting for other people to come.
Right.
So you can always be doing something else while you're at an open house, even if it's dead, which you don't want it to be dead, but you could be there posting on social media, doing the right thing, not just a death scroll, right? You could be cold calling or warm dialing while you're at the open house. Same thing you should be doing in your vehicle. I'm not saying that you should be using your computer while you're driving, but do whatever you want to do. You're an adult. And if you're driving, you should be making money too, right?
I agree.
So the open houses are good, but from that 8 to noon, you're not going to do open houses on a Monday. So as a new agent or in a new area, you're back to dialing for dollars, right?
You're dialing for dollars, and that's the thing. So you can do, circle calling does work, which is really just calling a neighborhood. It does. It's not part of my model.
So circle calling is like you put a little point in a spot, and then you do a circle around it, and you kind of call all those houses.
It's calling a neighborhood, right?
Okay.
And you can, any brokerage probably has a program that you can use for that. It's a great way to do it, and you can build a lot of connections. Like you can get referral partners that way. You can talk to, and here's the thing too, like you should be asking everybody who they know. You should be asking the barista in the Starbucks line. You should be talking to everybody. The amount of business we get from the bar is unbelievable. All of this stuff, again, it's that limitation, right?
Sure.
Well, I got to go in and make my 100 calls. No, you're meeting people all day, and most people are not doing that. right?
Agents need to be at networking events. They need to be at the gym. They need to be at, you don't have to necessarily be at the bar drinking, but even at a restaurant. So I always get yelled at by my friends and family because I'm always talking to everybody. And it's not always for business, but it's just part of who I am. And if you want to be successful in retail real estate as an agent, take your business to the next level, you got to be a little bit of a people person, or you have to be a pretend people person because you're dealing with people, right? We're not buying and selling foreclosures. We're not just sitting in a new construction home and people are just walking up and buying it. Chris started with 0 clients. Now it's been a while, but in a short period of time, he's gone from being an ISA, which there's nothing wrong with that. He learned the business, right? To working on the team as an agent and then spreading his wings, becoming his own agent, and basically one of the top guys at a huge office in Metro Detroit. And you don't do that by luck, and you don't do it, by not working hard, right?
Right.
You kind of have to work hard.
You do. You do have to work hard.
And nobody wants to hear that stuff, but
no.
That's what this show is all about, and that's what I'm all about, is making it happen and pushing and getting to the next level. So I want to ask you, Chris, for those newer people thinking about getting into the business, or if they are an ISA, what was the toughest part of that role?
Oh, that role. I mean, I was making pizzas on Sundays to pay the bills when I was in that role. So,
because you basically don't get paid unless one of the leads that you talk to turns into a listing or a sale somehow.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It has to close. So you get a portion of it. It has to close. I mean, you typically get, there's a small salary that's attached to it, but I mean, not a livable one. It's
you're talking
small.
like $5 an hour and then
it's
commission.
Pretty low. Right. So, no, I mean, the hardest thing about even now, right? It's like, you have to stay positive, right? Because you're going to get rejected. You're going to have people that are telling you everything under the sun. You're going to have people that you're really close with that don't use you, don't care about what you do. I mean, that is going to happen. And that was the hardest thing for me to learn, is that I thought everybody was going to be super supportive. And a lot of people are, and then once you get some level of success, then it transfers again to, you think everyone's going to be happy for you. They're not.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things that I've had to learn.
The mindset shift is crazy. Chris and I grew up in similar neighborhoods, kind of similar families, and I think we had a lot of support as far as a family life goes, right? But to know how to go from, to become the top guy at a huge market center, I mean, it takes a lot of work, but it also takes a lot of cleansing, because the toughest space, right, to take care of is the one in between your two ears. So you've got to focus on mindset. Is there any program or any coaching, or is there even like a book on mindset that helped you, or a podcast that you can think of?
The first one I ever watched was a Will Smith video.
Okay.
And this was like, I don't know, 12 years ago.
Like From the Pursuit of Happiness or something that?
I think it was
one of those movies.
That. It was one of his interviews. And he was talking about how nobody was going to beat him. He'd get on a treadmill and he would die on that treadmill before he'd let somebody beat him.
Sure.
I watched a lot of Grant Cardone. I like him a lot. I think he's got some good content. I don't read a lot of books. I probably should. Everyone tells me that. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, though. A lot of YouTube that I watch. But a lot of it with the personal health is going to come down to my fitness. Yoga's huge. And I have to shut off, right? So what I've learned is I was available all the time, every hour of the day. It's very hard not to do that, especially when trying to get business. But, I don't take calls at 10 o'clock like I used to.
Has your income gone down?
No.
Okay, there you go, guys.
No.
And you get better and better at what you do if you keep working on your craft also, right? So that takes, it's mindset, but it's also tools. Right. So the toughest part was kind of Zig Ziglar would call it like stinking thinking, right? So you can't do that. You can't, we talked about it today before the show. I said, I don't know what we were saying, but it's like, even if they don't like me, who cares? Because they either like me or they don't. Right. But it's not going to make a difference anyways. I'm still going to do the show, right? I'm still going to show up and do what I'm supposed to do. Right. So what do you think that what do you think the best asset that you gained yourself from being an ISA? What was that?
I got a thicker skin, because when I was a kid, I used to not like Blockbuster video.
Listen, for you guys not watching, Chris is fair skinned, okay, and he's almost got red hair. He probably does. So, a little bit. So his skin may be a bit thin.
I was super nervous, and I would not go into like a Blockbuster video when I was a kid. Did not want to talk to anybody I didn't know. So that really helped me develop a thicker skin on how to talk to people, right? Because I was so nervous about, oh gosh, what do they think of me saying this? How do I start a conversation? I typically don't start with how are you doing today? I stopped doing that. But that's what it did.
You start with an easy question, right? That they can answer and they can't say yes or no to.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Because you got to cut out that, as soon as you say, how are you today? It's like a sale. Oh, it's a sales call.
Oh, you're talking about straight up cold calling too.
Yeah,
sure.
because that's how it was when I started.
Absolutely.
It was cold calls all day long, which is important to start
So
with.
what has that thicker skin done for you in the last 3 years or 4 years since you've been on your own?
Sure.
Or call it 5, but whatever that number is.
It helps me get up faster. So when I say get up
how?
faster,
Yeah.
You know, let's say you just get, you get a client fires you. Let's say that you have a big deal blow up in your face. We've seen it all. You know, I've had bad hires. I've had, all kinds of crazy stuff that I've learned over the past couple of years. And it beats you up, right? People that you think support you all of a sudden are out talking behind your back, right? So you can get up faster. I think that's what it's done. I used to be down for a week. Oh, poor me. Can't do that. You got to get up. You feel bad for yourself for 5 minutes, fine, but then you got to move on.
Yeah, I'm in a real estate mastermind, and this morning one of our members posted that they chose to leave their brokerage, and when they did that and told their broker, guess what their broker did? Shut off access to everything. So this person was crying on there, and I don't know if they were actually crying, but they were saying, "What should I do? I'm going to sue. I'm going to do all this stuff." So I commented back to them because I know them, and I said, "Hey, here's what you need to do. I'd spend about 5% on that, but that's after you put 95% into getting new clients for the next 30 days because you need money now. And the best thing that you can do is start stacking people up in your own CRM, and don't make that bad decision the next time either. And that's just what happens in this business, right?
Right.
You got to be tough. You got to be able to get up because nobody cares. Unless you want to make pizzas on Sunday. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, you probably should be either relaxing or you should have multiple agents at open houses, right? On Sundays.
Right.
So that's good about the ISA. So then when you jumped into the team role, but as an agent, so you're out there and you could bring your own clients in also, but a lot of them you'd gotten from the team, the leads. So there's a different percentage split, super boring stuff for you guys to listen to right now. But what was the toughest part leaving the ISA role and becoming Chris on the team now?
So, the thing with an ISA is you're setting up the client, right? But you don't know the process. You don't know what can go on with, I remember always thinking as an ISA, why is this deal taking so long? Why is it taking so long?
Because you're waiting to get paid.
I'm like, come on, let's go, But no, I think the hardest thing was going into 100% commission, right? But on top of that, it was going into this role where I didn't really know how to run it yet. I had to kind of learn as I went along. And I had the support behind me to help with that. But that was
and you already had a strong foundation as an ISA. So imagine again, if you just get a license like that and you don't have a ton of support, or you choose not to take it because there's many different brokerage models out there today.
Right. And
some offer a ton of support and people don't take it. Some offer barely any, but you could take one iota and build a whole business off of it, right?
Right. Exactly. But yeah, those were the toughest two things, really. That was the main challenges that I had.
And so then asking the same question that I asked earlier about ISAs, working on the team as Chris, the team player now, what was the best part of that? What did you gain from that you're still using today?
Right.
Because they can't take it away from us once we learn it, right?
No, I think it was the work ethic. They pushed us hard.
Good.
I had a good...
People don't like to be pushed hard.
They don't. I had a very good... employer. She pushed us very hard. I was the longest standing agent on the team.
And that was another agent who basically was your boss because you were using their leads when you say employer.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah. So the team leader, she pushed us hard. She showed us how to work. It was, that was a big deal. And then over time it got better, right? I had my challenges. It wasn't like a walk in the park, but, a lot of agents would come in, they'd fall off after a couple months. They'd sell a house or two. They'd think it's easy. It's not easy. It gets easier, but it's not easy to start. So that would be what I'd say. It's the structure and working hard, That's what they pushed you to do.
Yeah, so that's a common theme you've heard Chris say about the perfect day. When I asked him, is the structure, what it being an ISA first, it's the structure. So if you don't want to be an ISA or you don't want to be on a team, I don't blame you. You can start out and be the biggest real estate agent of all time. That's totally fine. But it sounds like without structure, it's going to be a lot tougher to do, right?
Well, yeah, and building on that too, another thing they really focused on, which I thought was different, they were very much involved with the budget, like where my money was going. Almost
good.
Invasive, but it was good.
So they were doing personal coaching because they wanted you to have success. Because if you become a great ISA and then move on to be a team agent, and you're in foreclosure yourself, you're going to be gone.
Right. You're
going to be back making pizzas.
Exactly. And they wanted you to focus on, like, they would have you put in, like, date night was in your calendar. I know it seems crazy, but you would literally have date night in your calendar, and then they would know not to call you because you were out with so-and-so, or if you're going to like a friend's event, or everything was
Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever you celebrate.
Right. They just wanted you to follow, they want, what's the wheel of life or whatever they call it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
keep it balanced. I don't really think it's a thing, but
there's a work-life balance, but I think, when you're young, you started very young. You obviously didn't have your own family yet, and I already know that because we're personal friends. But Chris started young. He could do anything that he wanted day to day, right? Yeah. But as you get older and you start, we have grandparents and parents, even if we don't have our own families yet, it's like there's times that you just have to take off the calendar.
Right.
And I think one of my mentors talks about that all the time. So he starts now, right about now, for all of 2024. So he knows where he's going to be going, if he's speaking at events or if he's going to be out of town for business, because a lot of times we know 6 months in advance, right? If we're going to go to a big seminar or whatever, he takes all those off. But then what do you think the next thing he takes off is?
It's family time.
Family time. Yep. Because if you're amazing at work and you fail at your family, at the end of the day, you really don't have much, because we love our clients, but we have to love our family a little bit more than our clients, right? We love our company that we work with or that we work for, but we still got to love our family a little bit more. And if we lose that balance, we talked about it earlier. For the last couple of years, Chris has been crushing it, right, in business, but he wasn't maybe taking his health as serious as he wanted to. And he's still very healthy, but as a 1%er, you're like, I need to do better. I need to be better. And nobody's going to hold him accountable, but himself. Even if we pay for an accountability coach, which I have multiple accountability coaches, some are paid for, some are free, who are just my friends in business who like to yell at me if I'm doing the wrong thing, because I empower them to do that. But you've got to do that. You've got to have that structure, because without that, it's very, very difficult to get to the next level and to be different and better than other people. That's why some franchises make it. We're talking about pizza today, and we'll tell you why a little bit later maybe, but there's some pizza franchises that make it and some don't. Why? Because there's probably a better structure in place so that there's less chances to fail. If you're cold calling FSBOs and expireds, like, really? Yes. If you're cold calling FSBOs and expireds from 8 to 12 every day for 2 years straight, I guarantee you're going to have some clients.
Yep.
It doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but do you want to go to a factory, press buttons and throw something in the back? Or do you really want to go and cut? Listen, if you're a landscaper and you love the outdoors, that's fine. But do you really want to be the guy who just cuts the grass? I mean, at 22, 24, that's not what you wanted to start doing. You wanted to build a business, right? So, moving on from a team agent to now it's all you aren't taking any leads from anyone, that you're not paying for yourself. All the costs are on you. You are the man, Chris, right? What was the toughest thing becoming your own agent?
Oh, is the pressure, because you don't really realize and I didn't realize, you don't realize the kind of pressure that these company owners have. You just don't. You say
or even a big team owner, whether the company owner,
company owner,
same
anybody
thing,
that's got anything where they've got staff, they've got people to support
hard costs.
Themselves. There is cost involved, and people don't get that. From what I've seen. And I know that because I went from a team and I had no clue what it costs to run a team once I kind of got out and started my own. So I think that was one of the hardest things, because you're not a realtor anymore, you're a business owner at that point. So you have to make the decision at that point. Do you just stay and sell, 15, 20 houses a year and make a pretty big income, decent income, and just kind of hang out there? Or do you scale and leverage yourself into a company owner position to where maybe you're not selling anymore? Maybe you're running the whole company. I don't know. There's ways to do it both ways. But you know what I'm saying? Dylan, we talk about this all the time.
Listen, are you a solopreneur? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a CEO? How do you get to that space. Right. And I think that's really the conundrum of all small business people, but especially in real estate, because it's like once you do start to scale, a lot of other things start to unfold.
Right. Exactly. And it opens up so many opportunities, right?
It also opens up a ton of opportunities.
That's how we met.
Exactly. we met at a subdivision that I was developing, and Chris showed up on a Sunday, and I used to host open houses almost every Sunday, because instead of having agents bring buyers all the time in new construction subdivisions, at least where we developed ours, typically the buyers would come and look on their own. Right. So we can't have them just walking in with an agent, because we sold 27 units. Right. We only paid about 4, I think, commissions total, and maybe it was 7, something like that, 4, 5, 6, 7 commissions. So we saved ourselves $250,000 by being there. And it's not just that. It's like Chris said, I had other opportunities because I met other buyers. I met other sellers. I met Chris. So you have to be out there working if you want to be successful, right?
You do.
To get to the next level.
And you never know who you're going to meet. You know,
never.
I mean, we've had some really cool clients that we've met over the years that I actually talk to as like a mentor. You know, because you never know who you're showing, who you're talking to, who that person knows. I mean, that's a big thing too we should build on. Like if you talk to your friends, they might not be looking, but they might know somebody. Yep. Or they might know somebody who knows somebody. Like we've gotten referrals like 4 people deep through one phone call. We're like calling this person, talking to this person. It's amazing.
Well, it's because you're being intentional with it. So it goes along with using, like, this stuff's boring, guys, I get it, but like using a CRM, right? And doing those certain things during specific time blocks and sitting there, and like Chris has a famous aunt up in Traverse City, right? He told me the story one time. Why did I remember that? Because I just remember that stuff. And she's on the radio, right? And she's like, maybe she can get him referrals. Who knows? Maybe she can do something for me. Maybe I can do something for her, more importantly. Right. I give way more than I take. But you have to think like that. You have to be intentional about your motives. And if you're out there doing the right thing for the right reasons, then it starts to compound and build on itself. And that's kind of the toughest thing, I think, for any new agent. I have a lot of new agents who work with us on our team, and they just don't know like how to get started. So nobody wants to hear, if you don't have a bunch of referrals or clients or family in the business or whatever, that you kind of have to make your own business happen.
Yeah.
And it literally starts with picking up that phone. Unfortunately, if that's not what you want to do, or you have to be really great at social or some other way, but every super successful agent that I know either started on the phones or has a team who works on the phones. And I'm talking about people who are making multi-millions as real estate agents or teams across the country. Mm-hmm. So there's something to that, success leaves clues. So, Chris, for those agents who are like doing okay and like they're making it, but they want to like just kick it up a notch. And like I always talk about like half cappers and cappers. So if you guys are listening to this and you don't know what that is, it's a real estate term that means like when you cap, that means you've paid your broker the amount that you're supposed to per deal, so that now you don't have to pay any more commission. Right. Typically with all the big box brokerages, you have to make around $80,000 to cap. We'll just use that as like a constant. So for the guys who are making 50 grand a year and like kind of making it, what's like your best piece of advice to get them from being a half capper to like a full capper?
Sure. So if you're making 50 grand a year, you're probably not tracking what you're doing.
Okay.
I'm just making a guess, but you have to track what you're doing. So you have to track your phone calls, right? So everybody has a CRM, right? But I would get a piece of paper out and I would literally write down, I talked to so-and-so today, this was the conversation, go put it in the CRM later. Because at that point, you're probably not going to have an assistant. So you do those items there as well. What I also like to do, you have to stay on task with your schedule, print your schedule. I know everyone's like, well, I got my, Gmail on the computer. I know, but your Gmail on the computer is not really coming with you. You got to open your phone. You literally print the thing off so you can follow your day. I think that's huge.
Okay.
I really, really do.
So track what you're doing, because these guys are already having success. And like, you know this and I know this. And we've probably both helped agents not even knowing we were helping them, right? Just because this is what we do. We talk to people.
Right.
So how hard is it to go from, this is like a rhetorical question, to go from 6 deals to 12, guys? It's not that hard.
No.
Now to go from 6 to 24 is harder, but if you're already doing 6, you can easily do 12. And I'm just using that as a round number and saying, if you're selling a house every couple months, you could be selling a house every month. If you're selling a house every month, you can easily sell a house every week because you're starting to build those systems. But Chris says that it's about tracking and keeping that schedule with you. So if you do have to move something, it doesn't go off. It just gets slid down to later.
Yep.
Because a lot of time you have like margin time or squish. Right. I call it like squish time in my schedule. I can say, oh, I was supposed to have coffee with Chris, and he dissed me right at Starbucks. So I'm standing there with 2 coffees. I'm going to get rid of his oat milk, the frozen one. I'm going to drink mine, and I'm going to go do my own thing. But during that squish time, there's something else I can put in there. I'm joking, of course, but so that's super good information. And then for the guys who are capping, who are making it, they're making 80, 100 grand a year. It's good money, right? It's good money.
Yep.
How do they go from that to doubling their business? How do you go from closing 12 or 15 deals a year to that? To me, the big number you need to hit is around 30 to really kind of hit. I mean, like someone who's closing 30, 35 deals a year as a real estate agent, they're in that top 1 or 2% in the nation.
Sure. So, I mean, this is what I would say. When you get to that point, it's going to happen over time too, right? As you stay in the business longer, you make more referral partners. I would really focus on your past clients too, because at that point, you already have some past clients that you can work and talk to and really focus on taking really good
And there's a
care of
term
them.
for that, right? Your past clients?
Yeah, I just PC.
Oh, okay. You call it past clients.
PC.
And I hear guys like squish them into the sphere of influence after they become past clients. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I just call them past clients. I mean,
Okay.
some people say just call them clients, which I guess is true because they could move again, you know. But yeah, I would focus on that as well for your past clients.
It's a 50% raise.
It is. And it's very.
So when you went from 24 to 36, did it feel like you were working 50% harder?
No, not there.
Okay.
No, a step above
That's not the pain point. Okay,
No.
but good to know because most guys aren't closing 36. That's
Because I
around
think,
10, 12
here's the
million
thing. I think if
in
you're
average
closing
sale prices, even around the nation. We're not talking about
20 deals a
LA
year.
or Manhattan.
I
we
mean,
know you
you
guys are
can
super
jump
cool, but we're in the
to
Midwest, right?
36
So the average
very,
house is
very
350
quickly.
times 30. Do the math, realtors, right? You're at like 11.5 mil or something like that. That's a big number. We don't know a lot of guys who are doing 10 mil. We know the guys who are, but the average realtor is doing how much?
Oh, like 6-7 deals a year, if that.
Yeah, that's 2 mil. I think the average realtor that I talk to does $1 million, $2 million, $3 million.
Well, it's hard. You know, I think the pain point is a little higher. Like when I had 1 assistant and we were closing 8 deals a month. I was losing my mind. That was way too much for me.
Sure. So that's about 72 deals a year.
Yeah, it was.
Which is double the threshold we were talking about getting to, right?
Right. Yeah, but it can happen overnight.
Sure.
You know, you can go from. I mean, I go last year, January, we only closed 2 houses, and then we jumped to 7 in February, 8 in March. It was just like, boom.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the biggest thing, you know, so I think it kind of builds on itself.
Sure.
You know, the year before that, I think our highest months were like 5 or 6 deals, so it kind of builds on it.
So for those guys to go from 24 to 36 deals, what do you think that?
So 24 to 36 deals, I think it's a combination of stuff, right?
Okay.
So you have your past clients, right? You're calling them one of the days that you're calling these phone calls. So whatever day a week it is, you call them, okay? I think another thing you need to add in is probably writing cards. You're really good at that. You know, cards are great. That's the coolest cards. The cards are huge, and I think it's going to be the meetings. You got to get in front of people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's anything different. I think it's just being more intentional with what you're doing and talking to more people, right? So I think maybe it's going to be, I think you take the quantity down, take the quality up. That's what, I mean, you know, that's what I would say. That's how I did it.
That's good, which is really hard to do day one. We talked about that.
Yes.
The first day in Nashville, Chris and I are banging the phones for probably 8 or 12 hours a day. I mean, I'm not kidding you, right? But then after 3-4 years, you're going to have the referral partners. You're going to have your sphere of influence or your past clients or squish them into whatever we call them, right?
Right.
So now you're being more intentional and you know who has some influence. The handyman has influence.
He does.
There you go, because he's always in houses and somebody's saying, you know, I don't know if we're going to redo this bathroom because we might just sell it. And he's like, if you guys do, I know a really good guy that you can, this is all I want someone to say about Chris or me. This is a really good guy that you can trust. That's
right.
it.
Well, I think it's all about calling people. Like, there was a guy, I don't even know who this person is, but I heard it at a seminar once. There was a guy in Florida that literally called the local hospital and just showed up for their transfers and did this whole, he shows up, he's doing this presentation, the workers come in, they're like, what are you doing? We're just going to give you all the business because nobody ever calls. You know, it's all these things that you just don't think about calling. Like, partner with the local car wash. Don't put a freaking sign in there. Just partner with the people that work there, you know? I just start doing different things like that. I think that's really what it is.
Okay, so building on those half cappers and cappers who want to get to the next level, because it's really the same guy. They just have to make that decision.
Right.
Because if you've gone from half capper to capper, you can go from capper to doubling your business, right? Because you've already done it. So what is the one secret that you have for those guys?
To go from half capper to capper. The one secret I would have, I think you have to be extremely consistent.
Okay. Consistency.
I think it's consistency, because this is the thing. I think what happens is if you're a half capper, I mean, even us today, right? You get busy. Maybe you do 3 deals in a month. Wow. But, we got some business going on. This is great, right? Maybe you don't make your calls. Maybe you don't send your cards out. And we're not talking about do it all day at this point. You're talking a couple hours. That's it. A couple hours is not hard. But what happens is if you get sidetracked and you don't get this stuff done, then you're going to feel it in 3 months. Right? So, and then your business goes down. Like our business, as I've told you, is down. Why? Because I was dealing with all this operation stuff for 3 months, and I took my foot off the gas on the actual relationship building part. Now we're still doing well, but we're not doing what we were doing, right? So I think that's
right.
I think it's the consistency is really what's going to get you there. I mean, just like you talked about, the FSBOs and expireds. If you're calling them for 2 years, you're going to have some clients. You just have to stay consistent, and people appreciate that. Because how many salespeople called you and never called you back?
There you go.
What is it, 12 times? I think it's 12 times.
Yeah, and most businesses, they say you have to reach out somewhere around 6-7 times for them to usually even pay attention. Again, the pizza coupons or whatever it is, right? So before we kill the show here, we've been talking about pizza because Chris's father owned a pizza place for a long time, and he's a great guy. Tom, if you're listening, you're an awesome guy. You raised a great son, and you and your wife have done amazing things with this kid. And he's not a kid, guys, but he's a great businessman. So Chris, you talked about like, you're not a big reader, but you listen to like, Cardone is somebody who kind of got you motivated. So for those guys who are going from like, I'm here, but I want to get to here, they're already motivated. They're already running. I talk about like, it's like a freeway. So they're going 55.
Right.
And guys like you are going 80. Right. They want to go 80. What, who should they listen to? What book should they read? What program should they do? Like there's got to be something that you've heard or listened to that like inspires you.
Sure. I know I mentioned Grant Cardone, but another guy that I really like is, what's his name? Gary V.
Okay.
Gary V. And I'll tell you why I like Gary V. His sister's a realtor.
Yep, I know that.
But what's really cool about him is he talks about this vision, right? He talks about this vision. What do you get excited about, right? And I think that's the biggest thing, right? You have to find something that gets you excited. Like if you're just going to go to work to make calls all day, to just do it forever and just be I mean, that's fine if it gets you excited, but for me, I get excited about this vision, So we do this for freedom, but it takes a long time to get there. But Gary V, huge.
Awesome.
I think, if there's another one, there's some other ones too. I watch all that stuff. I look at some Jordan Peterson stuff too. I like him because he's really good with the mindset.
Yeah.
Big fan of him. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad, I did read that book. Yep. That's a great book, Robert Kiyosaki.
I was just on stage with them not long ago.
I know you told me about that. So that's a great book. I just ordered a book on, I forget who wrote it. It's on time management.
Okay.
You might even know it. I don't know.
Is it Dan Kennedy?
I think it is. It's like a multicolored cover.
Time vampires. Yeah.
So that's
ruthless time management. Yeah.
So I don't know if that gives you enough, but
we'll have links to all this stuff. We'll have our editor put all the links to all this stuff in the show notes so you guys can see what books and some of the people Chris is talking about. We're also obviously going to have all of Chris's information. So if you guys want to reach out to him for whatever reason that is, if you're looking to buy or sell a house in Metro Detroit, Chris is your man. And if there's any agents who want to reach out, Chris?
Absolutely. We'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Anything we do to help give you some advice or some pointers or anything. We might even learn something from you. Who knows?
Listen, this is what we do, right? We give. So all of Chris's information is going to be in the show notes. But most importantly, I want to really thank you for being on the show. We're excited. As always, we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to The Rare Agent Show. I hope you got as much value out of this episode as I loved bringing it to you. If you're ready for more, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And don't forget to join our free Facebook group, Closings from Leads. It's a community where agents like you are connecting, sharing strategies, and getting exclusive resources to close more deals. You can find the link in the show notes. I can't wait to see you there. Until next time, keep it rare and keep it real.